12 weeks after Queen Elizabeth's death, a guard on duty at Windsor Castle heard mysterious sounds coming from a sealed room. What he found inside was a terrible family secret that had been hidden for 70 years. Would you keep such a horrific family secret, or would you reveal the truth to the world? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more secret stories about the royal family. My name is Thomas Whitmore, and I have been a royal guard at Windsor Castle for 12 years. I have seen countless diplomats come and go, witnessed state ceremonies that would make your head spin, and stood guard in storms that could wake the dead. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what I experienced during my final night shift at the castle, 3 weeks after the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. It was October 15th, 2022. The castle felt different that night, as if the very stones themselves were mourning, weighing heavier than usual. The tourists had returned home hours earlier, the staff had retired to their quarters, and the usual hustle and bustle had given way to an almost oppressive silence. I had been assigned to the upper courtyard for my night watch, particularly around the royal apartments where the Queen had spent her final months. The shift began quite normally. I made my rounds, checked the security systems, and settled into the familiar rhythm of a sleeping castle. The autumn wind howled through the courtyards, rattling the windows and creaking the ancient timbers. These sounds had become as familiar to me over the years as my own heartbeat. Every guard working at Windsor knows that night shifts are different. During the day, the castle is lively and bustling, protocols, visitors, official business. But at night, especially on such autumn nights, the castle seems to breathe. It's as though the secrets of centuries echo within the old walls. It was around 11:30 p.m. when I first noticed something strange. As I was passing by the Queen's private study, I heard a sound like paper rustling from inside. I knew for certain that the room had been sealed since the Queen's death, pending the liquidation of her estate. No one should have been there, especially at that hour. This worried me because I take security protocols very seriously. What 12 years of experience teaches you is that small anomalies can turn into big problems. I stopped and pressed my ear against the heavy oak door. The rustling continued, and there was also a sound like a whisper. This was definitely not the wind. I've been listening to the sound of the wind for 12 years, and this was different. It was human movement. My training kicked in immediately. I called the control room. "Control, this is Whitmore. I'm hearing movement in the Queen's study, requesting backup for a security check." The response came quickly through my earpiece. "Negative, Whitmore. All other personnel are accounted for. It's probably just the wind. Continue your patrol." But I could tell the difference between wind and human movement. This was definitely the latter. Despite my commander's orders, my duty was to ensure the castle's security. I tried the door handle, expecting it to be locked, but to my surprise, it turned smoothly. This was even stranger. The door was supposed to be sealed. It opened almost silently, as if it had been recently oiled. The study was exactly as I remembered it from the few times I had entered it during my official duties. Shelves filled with leather-bound books, a large mahogany desk facing windows overlooking the Long Walk, and portraits of past monarchs hanging on the walls. Everything seemed to be in its place, yet something was terribly wrong. There was an electrical tension in the air, like before a storm. The room was noticeably colder than the corridor, and there was an odd smell in the air. Not unpleasant, but distinctive. It reminded me of old roses and something else I couldn't quite place. Something medical, perhaps. Not a hospital smell, more like the smell of old age, a mix of old perfume and medicine.
The Queen always carried that scent in her final months. I went inside, my hand instinctively reaching for the flashlight on my belt. As I swept the beam of light around the room, nothing seemed to be out of place, yet the sense of something being wrong only intensified. I checked every corner, including behind the windows. Security protocol required it, but everything was much quieter than normal. I could even hear my own breathing. That's when I noticed the papers on the table. This shocked me because I knew that the Queen's desk had been completely cleared after her death. I was there that day, watching the room being emptied along with the other guards. Every book, every paper, every pen had been meticulously removed. Royal protocol was very strict in this regard. But now, there were papers on the desk, arranged as if someone had been reading them just moments ago. As I approached, my heart began to race. These were not ordinary documents. There were envelopes with the royal seal, handwritten notes, and at the top, a photograph. An old photograph, the edges yellowed, black and white. When I picked up the photograph, my hands began to tremble. It was a black and white family photo, seemingly taken in the 1950s. Young Queen Elizabeth was there with the typical hairstyle of the era and an elegant dress. There was a sparkle of youth in her eyes, but also a hint of worry. Beside her was Prince Philip, handsome and proud, still wearing his military uniform. But there were a few other people I didn't recognize with them. One man, middle-aged, looked like a doctor with his white coat and serious expression. He wore glasses and had a stethoscope in his hand. A woman, dressed as a nurse, had a compassionate look in her eyes but seemed tired. And between them, a baby. There was another woman holding the baby, an elderly nanny. But the baby's face seemed to have been deliberately scratched. It had been scratched with nails or some other sharp object. It was clear that this had been done so that no one could recognize the baby. I've been keeping that photo hidden for a very long time. The voice was so quiet and soft that at first I thought it was the wind. But then I heard the words and my blood ran cold. This voice was familiar, very familiar. A voice known throughout Britain. When I turned around, the silhouette of a woman appeared on the other side of the table. Moonlight illuminated the windows, but there seemed to be a different light source around her. A faint, silvery glow. I took a breath, but no scream came out of my throat because I was in shock. It was Queen Elizabeth, just as I remembered her, as she was in her final years. Her gray hair was carefully combed. She wore her characteristic sweater, and her pearl necklace sparkled around her neck. But her eyes were not the eyes of a living person. They were deep, cloudy, and filled with endless fatigue. At the same time, they also conveyed a very intense determination. I stood there staring at him, questioning my sanity. It wasn't possible. The Queen was dead. Millions had attended her funeral. The whole world had watched it on television. I was there, too, standing guard at Westminster Abbey. I had watched the guards carry her coffin on their shoulders. I had seen them lay her to rest. But the figure standing before me in the moonlight was definitely her. "Don't be afraid, Thomas," she said, her voice carrying a familiar authority, but also a deep weariness. "I won't harm you. On the contrary, I have a favor to ask of you." The fact that she knew my name was another shock. How could the Queen know the name of a simple guard? Thousands of people worked in the castle. Your Majesty," the words came out of my mouth with difficulty. My mouth had suddenly gone dry. "But you I couldn't finish the sentence. What could I say? Are you dead? That would be very disrespectful. I am dead, yes. She smiled, but it was not a comforting smile. It was sad and weary. But some duties continue even after death, Thomas. And you were here that night because you are special. Her voice echoed, as if she were speaking from far away. How special? I asked, my voice still trembling. My knees were giving way. I didn't know how to handle this situation. I had been trained, but this wasn't in any training manual.
Because you are loyal. You have served in this castle for 12 years and have never neglected your duties. You have never been involved in any scandals, and no secrets have ever leaked from you. You're coming here tonight, entering despite the room being sealed. This courage and sense of responsibility, that is why you were chosen. Who chose me? I took a step back, my back against the bookshelf. The scent of old leather books filled my nose. Leather, paper, ink, and the scent of time. By fate, Thomas, or perhaps by me. After death, you realize you possess certain powers. He began to move slowly around the room, his footsteps seemingly silent. Her skirt swayed lightly on the floor, but there was no sound. This castle has been my home for 70 years. My spirit is still here. You saw that photograph. She looked at the table. No one had seen it in 67 years. I kept it hidden because some secrets are far more dangerous than a mere scandal for the throne. This photo, if it were made public, it could shake the royal institution to its core. I took the photo again, my hand still trembling. Who is this child? I looked at the etched face. Why is the face erased? The Queen's expression changed. A deep pain reflected in her eyes. It was an expression I hadn't seen often. The Queen always appeared strong and composed in public. She never showed weakness. But now I saw only a mother in pain. 70 years of pain she had kept hidden. My son, my real first son, the child born before Charles. His voice was very low, almost a whisper. The world seemed to stand still. I could hear my heart beating. It sounded like thunder in my ears. But that's impossible. There's no record of it. Nowhere. Records can be altered, Thomas, especially royal records. She turned toward the window, the moonlight making her figure almost transparent. There are great differences between the official history of the royal family and the true history. That's normal. Every dynasty has its secret pages. But this secret, this one is much darker. I became pregnant in 1951. It was a child born from Philip and my love, our first child. We were very happy. It was the early years of our marriage to Philip. Everything was beautiful. We looked to the future with hope. We eagerly awaited the child's birth. But when he was born, there was a problem, a very big problem. What kind of problem? My voice had turned to a whisper. I could feel the weight of this secret. The child wasn't normal. She paused as if feeling the weight of the words. It was clear the moment he was born. His eyes were different. Not the color, but the shape. They weren't human eyes. His hands were different too. His fingers were very long, and the joints were wrong. His skull wasn't normal. The doctors were shocked. They had never seen anything like it before.
It was a completely incomprehensible situation for modern medicine. Doctors couldn't explain it. Genetic knowledge was very limited at the time, but one of the old nurses at the palace knew. Margaret McNeil. That woman was from a family that had served the royal family for generations. Her mother's mother and her mother had also worked at the royal palace. I needed to sit down, but there were no chairs in the room. I leaned against the wall. What did the nurse know? According to them, it was a sign of a curse that had been in the Windsor dynasty for a long time. I don't know if it was a curse or a genetic disorder, but for generations, every few generations, children were born with these differences. The Windsor dynasty has been living on these lands for thousands of years, Thomas, and sometimes, for power, dark deals are made. To hold on to the throne, to protect the bloodline, to defeat enemies, all of these come at a price. His voice was slow and heavy. One of our ancestors long ago made a deal with ancient powers to protect the throne. Celtic sorcerers, ancient rituals. I don't know exactly what it was, but the price of that deal was a price that had to be paid once every generation. What kind of price? A child. A child born different, bearing the curse. And this child had to be hidden from society. The world would never see him.
Deep. The Queen turned toward the window again, the moonlight making her figure almost completely transparent. It was a spiritual image. We had to hide the baby. We made it appear as if it had never existed in official records. The public could never find out. The church could never find out. The media could never find out. Even within the family, very few people knew the truth. But he was alive, Thomas, and he was growing, not like a normal child, but he was growing. He was a smart child, very smart, perhaps even smarter than normal. Where did he live? What happened to him? He lived in a special room beneath the castle, deep underground where no one could find him. Only a handful of trusted individuals knew of his existence. Special nurses, a trusted doctor, and a few guards, including the security director at the time, your father. That last sentence shook me to the core. It felt like cold water had been poured over my head. My father? Yes, Thomas, James Whitmore. That's why you're here tonight. This mission, it's a family tradition. Your father carried the same secret. He bore the same burden. There was understanding in the Queen's eyes. He never told you, did he?
My father died when I was 10 years old. They said it was a heart attack, but he never talked about his work at home. When I asked my mother, she avoided talking about my father's job. Royal security is a very secretive business, she would say. Why didn't he ever mention it? Because he wanted to protect you. The weight of that secret, it's too much, Thomas. Your father learned it at a young age, too, when his own father died. It was a duty passed down through generations of the Whitmore family. But as he grew older, he changed. Not just physically, but mentally, too. It was as if he was ceasing to be human and transforming into something else. He developed powers, strange powers. He could move objects with his mind. He could read people's thoughts. And the most terrifying thing, he could cause pain just by looking. I looked again at the carved face in the photograph. Who carved him out of this photograph? I did. The Queen's voice hardened. Because he had become uncontrollable. When Charles was born in 1969, that other child, jealousy, hatred, I don't know, but he tried to harm Charles. He crept into his crib in the middle of the night and, thankfully, the nurse noticed in time. He was strangling Charles. Such tiny hands, but he was strong. The nurse barely managed to pull them apart. Charles was almost dead. The Queen's voice trembled. That's when I made my decision. The danger was too great. Silence fell over the room. Only the wind's howl through the windows could be heard, and from far away the faint sound of the tower's bells. They rang after midnight. Did you kill him? I tried to kill him. She turned back to me. But that thing, it couldn't die a normal death. The curse was protecting it, or its powers. I don't know. We just hid it, deep down, in the castle's foundations, where no one could find it, and it stayed there for 53 years. 53 years? So it's still... My breath caught. It's alive, yes, and with my death, that thing binding it is weakening. My life force was keeping it there, but that power is gone now. I couldn't breathe. All of this was absurd, terrifying, but somehow logical. I knew the royal family had countless secrets, scandals hidden throughout history, covered-up events, secret records. But this was on a completely different level. This was something paranormal, beyond the supernatural. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Why now? Why me?" Because I had begun to feel it before I died. I felt it moving. 53 years later, with my death, the thing that bound it is weakening. The Queen's voice was anxious. In my final days, in my nighttime sleep, I heard it. He was calling me. He was angry, very angry. So will he be free soon? Very soon, yes. Perhaps days, perhaps weeks. And Thomas, if he gets out, he will be a danger not only to the royal family, but to all of Britain. Because he is no longer human. 53 years of hatred, jealousy, and dark forces. His mind, it's long gone. What kind of danger? He sees himself as the true heir to the throne, because he was born before Charles. And for 53 years he's been building up hatred toward the royal family, toward me, toward everyone. The first thing he'll do is seek revenge.
So who will be the first target? The Queen paused, as if what she was about to say was painful. William and his children, because William is now heir to the throne, and he always wanted the throne. He sees himself as the true heir. William's children are fake heirs in his eyes. Prince William, the future king, and his children, little George, Charlotte, Louis, the most innocent of the innocent. My stomach clenched. How dangerous is this for the children? Very dangerous. That thing's powers are much advanced now. For 53 years, it did nothing but grow and strengthen. And worst of all, its hatred and resentment grew too. There's no mercy left in it, only anger. What should I do? I wasn't questioning anymore. This was a huge secret, a huge danger, and somehow I felt trusted, just like my father was trusted. There's only one way to stop it, but this task is very dangerous and requires a great sacrifice. How great.
Queen approached. From this close distance, I could see more clearly that she wasn't really there. A projection, a spirit, a manifestation of energy, whatever. But the determination in her eyes was definitely real. You'll have to go down into the castle, into the old dungeons even deeper than that. You'll find him there, and you'll bind him again. How? I mean, what method? He went to the table and pointed to one of the envelopes there. There's a map inside this envelope. It's from your father. Also, instructions showing where the necessary tools are located. Instructions passed down from father to son. Information your father should have given you, but couldn't, because he died too soon. Your father didn't die of a heart attack, Thomas. He died from that child's psychological attack. As the child grew, his powers grew too, and he mentally killed your father. He stopped his heart. This information shook me deeply. My father's death had always been a mystery. He was a young, healthy man. So that's why my father, yes, and now the same danger awaits you. But Thomas, his voice took on a serious warning tone. Once you set foot on that path, there is no turning back. This mission will not only change your life, but your soul as well.
What do you mean? The ritual that binds him requires a soul, a constant fresh source of life energy. My soul kept him calm for years. I had formed a mental bond with him, but I died. Now another soul is needed, and that soul, his eyes became sad, will be yours. I understood. I felt a sourness in my stomach. There was a metallic taste in my mouth. So I'm going to die? No, you won't die. Worse, you'll live, but bound to it. You'll wait for it, just like I did. Every night, every day, you'll have to check on it, a mental chain. You won't be free. What about an alternative? What happens if I do nothing? He'll come out, and first he'll kill William's children. Then William, then Charles, and then he'll take the throne. But he's no longer human. He can't govern the country. He can only destroy it. My head was spinning. Is there no hope, no way out? Prince Harry. As soon as I heard the name, many things fell into place. Harry? But he left the royal family, yes, but his blood is still royal blood, and most importantly, he lives in the real world. He knows the power of ordinary people. To break this curse, we need both royal blood and the energy of the outside world. Harry knows both worlds, the modern world and the royal tradition.
Why would Harry come? He broke away from his family. Because he is also a victim of this curse. Think about it, Thomas. Why did Harry break away from his family? Why did he constantly rebel? Because he also felt this dark energy. We protected him when he was a child, but as an adult, we couldn't protect him anymore. I took the envelope. It was heavy, with something metal inside. How will I reach Harry? He lives in America, and why would he listen to me? You won't reach him, Thomas. You'll just keep him waiting. You'll prepare what's necessary. Bringing Harry here is my job. Death gives me certain opportunities. But you're dead. How? He smiled, this time more sincerely. Death, Thomas, works a little differently for queens, especially for queens with unfinished business. And my greatest task is still ongoing, the protection of the family. Death doesn't stop me. It just requires me to change form.
How much time do I have? Not much. Maybe a few days, maybe a week. That thing is getting stronger by the hour, and soon it will break the chains. I held the envelope tightly. What if I fail? Then the Queen's voice grew somber.
The royal family will come to an end, and this country will face very dark days. That thing doesn't just seek revenge, it also craves power. And when it seizes power, Britain will become a nightmare.
The next night, I had finished my preparations. The contents of the envelope had both surprised and frightened me. There was an old map, hand-drawn, showing the secret passages beneath the castle. The map contained notes in my father's handwriting. Warnings such as dangerous, don't go back, and only if necessary were written in every corner. I could sense my father's fear in those notes. There was also an iron chain, very heavy and cold, with strange symbols engraved on it that I couldn't understand. It was a mix of Celtic knots, runic script, and Latin letters. The chain trembled oddly in my hands. There was also an old Latin prayer, written in ink on parchment paper. The ink wasn't brown, it was a darker color. And what worried me the most, a small golden dagger with a royal crest on the hilt. It was very sharp. Just touching it lightly cut my finger. I could guess what the dagger was meant for, but I didn't want to think about it. As I examined these items, it felt strange to think that my father had been a part of this secret. In my childhood, I remembered him as a calm, ordinary security guard. He drank his coffee in the mornings and read the newspaper in the evenings. But now I understood that he had carried the same burden, the same terrible secret.
I started my night shift at the usual time, but this time I had a different plan. I had to make it look like I was doing my normal patrol to the other guards. I waited for hours, my heart beating faster than normal. I was sweating despite the cold weather. When it was midnight, I went to the spot marked on the map, an old door under the main hall. I had seen this door every day for years. I thought it was just a decorative wall piece. Tourists never noticed it either. But upon closer inspection, I realized it was indeed a door. It was very old, perhaps dating back to when the castle was first built. The stonework was different, rougher, more ancient. It could have even predated the Norman period. The old key given to me by the Queen opened the lock. The key itself was different, much heavier than modern keys and adorned with symbols. I had seen the same symbols on the chain. The door creaked open, revealing a dark, narrow staircase. The air coming from below was old, damp, and something else. A metallic scent, like the smell of blood, but very old, centuries-old blood. I lit my lantern and began to descend. The stairs were made of stone, but they were very worn and weathered. There were indentations in the middle from centuries of footsteps. Many people must have passed through these stairs. But who and why? There was no mention of these stairs in any official records.
Stairs seemed endless. 10, 20, 30 steps. I lost count. With each step, I felt that thing getting closer. There was an electrical tension in the air, as if a storm were approaching. My hair stood on end on my arms, and the sound, a very faint but distinct sound. The sound of breathing. Finally, I emerged into a narrow corridor. The walls were made of rough stone and the ceiling was low. This was the part of Windsor not shown on official tours. Perhaps it was a part no one knew about. The corridor featured stonework from different periods. Some parts seemed to be from the Norman era, others even older, perhaps from the Saxon period. There was even Roman stonework on some of the stones. This corridor was very long. The lantern's light couldn't reach the end. There were strange drawings on the walls. At first, I thought they were vandalism, but then I realized they were very old. Celtic symbols, animal drawings, and signs I didn't recognize.
Some seemed to be painted in blood-red paint. According to the map, I had to turn 3 corners and then go right. With every step, I felt that thing getting closer. It wasn't just physical distance, there was also a mental closeness. It was as if it was calling me.
I reread the notes on my father's map. Be careful from here on. Don't make a sound. He may be sleeping. Sleeping? Has he been sleeping for 53 years? Or is he just waiting? When I turned the 3rd corner, I saw a heavy door at the end of the corridor. This door was completely different from the others. It was made of very thick wood, reinforced with metal pieces, and had different versions of the same symbols on it. Celtic knots, ancient runic script, Latin letters, and other symbols I didn't recognize. Most importantly, a faint light was seeping out from under the door. As I approached the door, the sound of breathing became more distinct. But it wasn't just that. There were other sounds, too. Clinking noises, like chains hitting metal, and occasionally, in a very low voice, words. A human voice, but distorted, as if someone who hadn't spoken in a very long time. "Mother! Where is Mother? Why did Mother abandon me?" My voice trembled. This was the voice of that child, 53 years old, but still searching for his mother. I felt sorry for him, but I was also very afraid. I tried the door handle. It was locked, but with a different lock. This wasn't a regular door lock. I looked at the map again. There was a second key in the envelope. I had forgotten about it. This one was smaller and had different symbols on it. My father's note said, "This key is only to be used as a last resort. Once it's opened, there's no going back." My hand was shaking as I turned the key. I knew that this step would change my life. As soon as the key turned the lock, the noise stopped. Complete silence. This was even more frightening. It was as if the creature inside had begun to wait for me. I slowly opened the door. The interior was dimly lit, as if by candles, but there were no candles in sight. The source of the light was unclear. Perhaps it was coming from the walls themselves. The room itself was round, with a domed ceiling. There were old paintings on the walls, but they had faded over time. Only shadows remained. In the center of the room was a figure.
I first saw it, my breath stopped. It was once a baby, but now it was the size of an adult, but it was not human. It was tall, perhaps 2 meters, but its proportions were completely wrong. Its limbs were very long, its head very large. Its fingers were much longer and thinner than normal human fingers. Its skin was pale and almost translucent. I could see the veins beneath, pulsing in a bluish hue. But the most terrifying thing was its eyes. They were blue like the Queen's, but there was no life in them, just a deep, endless void. And as it looked at me, it felt like it was penetrating my soul. I could sense it trying to enter my mind. When it saw me, it raised its head. The movement was slow, as if its muscles had gone numb from inactivity. There were teeth in its mouth, but they were sharp and irregular. They weren't human teeth, more like predator teeth. Are you a security guard?" His voice was strange, as if he wasn't used to speaking. He struggled to form the words. His vocal cords weren't normal. "Yes, I replied, surprised that my voice came out. "What's your name?" He smiled, but the expression made him even more terrifying. His lips were very thin, and the smile wasn't natural. It was as if he were imitating it. "I don't have a name. My mother never gave me one, but I'm her first son, her first child. Why did she choose Childs? Why not me?"
He spoke with the voice of a broken-hearted child. But his appearance, this was no child. This was something that had grown up with 53 years of pain and resentment. "Mother was trying to protect you," I said, holding the chain tightly in my hand. "Protect me?" Her voice rose, making the walls of the room shake. "She locked me up here. 53 years. I couldn't go outside, see the sun, talk to people. Is that protection?" "You are different. People couldn't understand you. Is being different a crime?" She stood up. Seeing his full height, I was thoroughly frightened. "Mother is dead, isn't she? I can feel it. There's nothing keeping her here anymore." "Yes, she's dead. So what happens now? Will you let me out of here?" I had been expecting this question, but I struggled to answer. "I have other plans." His eyes narrowed. "What kind of plans?" "A new way to keep you here." Anger. Pure anger. It filled the entire room. The walls began to shake, and pieces of stone fell from the ceiling. The pressure in the air changed, and my ears popped. My eyes filled with tears.
"No," he shouted. "Enough is enough. No more waiting. I deserve to live like them. I deserve to be king." He moved toward me, but the chains held him back. Only then did I notice that he was bound by chains from his wrists and ankles. But these chains were no ordinary chains. They bore symbols and emitted a faint light. "Break these chains," he commanded. "I am a member of the royal family. You must show me respect." "I'm sorry," I said, removing the chain from the envelope. "But I can't." That thing, because I couldn't call it a child anymore, was furious. The room's temperature dropped suddenly, and my breath was visible. It began to pull at its chains. The sound of metal scraping against the walls was ear-piercing. "You don't know me," it shouted. "I am Edward, Edward Windsor, the true heir to the throne." Edward. He had given himself that name then, and the name he had chosen was in keeping with royal tradition. "What are these new chains for?" His eyes were fixed on the chain in the envelope. "They're what will keep you here," I said, my voice low because I was condemning myself with my own words.
"Don't leave me alone," she cried. "Please don't leave me alone." The dagger pierced my skin. I felt pain, but also something else, a kind of connection. The light in Edward's chains glowed brighter, and then I began to feel it too. Him. He was entering my mind. 53 years of loneliness, jealousy, hatred. It was all flowing through me. But there was also something else, the longing for love of a broken child. "Thomas, are you my friend now?" His voice was hopeful now. "Yes, Edward," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I'm your friend now. Because you are loyal. You have served in this castle for 12 years and have never neglected your duties. You have never been involved in any scandals, and no secrets have ever leaked from you. You're coming here tonight, entering despite the room being sealed. This courage and sense of responsibility, that is why you were chosen." Who chose me? I took a step back,
my back against the bookshelf. The scent of old leather books filled my nose. Leather, paper, ink, and the scent of time. By fate, Thomas, or perhaps by me. After death, you realize you possess certain powers. He began to move slowly around the room, his footsteps seemingly silent. Her skirt swayed lightly on the floor, but there was no sound. This castle has been my home for 70 years. My spirit is still here. You saw that photograph. She looked at the table. No one had seen it in 67 years. I kept it hidden because some secrets are far more dangerous than a mere scandal for the throne. This photo, if it were made public, it could shake the royal institution to its core. I took the photo again, my hand still trembling. Who is this child? I looked at the etched face. Why is the face erased? The Queen's expression changed. A deep pain reflected in her eyes. It was an expression I hadn't seen often. The Queen always appeared strong and composed in public. She never showed weakness. But now I saw only a mother in pain. 70 years of pain she had kept hidden.
We'll wait. For what? For someone who will rescue you from here. Harry? I was surprised. How do you know that? I heard it from my mother. She spoke to me that night before you arrived. She said Harry would come and rescue me. But Harry, he left the royal family. Yes, but he's my blood brother, and our only hope. Days and weeks passed. Talking to Edward became a habit. I understood his tragedy now. He just wanted love, but no one could give it to him. The royal family kept him hidden, society rejected him, and in the end, he was trapped here. Thomas, he said one day, will Harry really come? The Queen promised, and queens keep their promises. What if he doesn't come? He will. Be patient. But I'm worried too. Harry is in America, living his own life. Why would he agree to come here?
3 months passed. 3 months spent in that dark room with Edward, listening to his endless stories, sometimes sleeping, sometimes calming him down. I had grown accustomed to him. Despite his terrifying appearance, he was actually a broken child at heart. And I had become his guardian. Then, that night came. Thomas! Thomas! Wake up! Edward's voice woke me. There was a different gleam in his eyes. What's wrong? He's coming! Harry is coming! How do you know? I can feel it! Royal blood approaching! My heart began to race. Indeed, footsteps could be heard in the distance. But it wasn't just one person. There were several. Edward, be careful. Don't scare them. I won't scare them. Harry will understand me. Sounds were heard at the door. The sound of a key turning. And then the door opened. Prince Harry entered. There were 2 others behind him. One looked familiar, the former security director, Reynolds. The other was an elderly woman I didn't recognize. Harry was surprised to see me. Who are you? Thomas Whitmore, Your Majesty, Royal Guard. What are you doing here? Edward replied, He's my friend. He was protecting me. Harry's eyes turned to Edward. His first reaction was fear, then sadness. Are you Edward? Yes, and you're Harry, my blood brother. Harry approached, taking careful steps. Grandmother told me everything. She came to me in my dreams and brought me here. How? So it's true. Yes, Thomas, Grandmother is still powerful even after her death, and she told me my mission. The old woman beside him spoke.
I am Margaret Thornfield. My family has guarded this secret for generations, and now the time has come. The time for what? Harry replied. The breaking of the curse, Edward's liberation, and your freedom. Is that possible? Yes, but it's dangerous, and we all have to work together. Edward asked hopefully. Will I be free now? Yes, said Harry, but in a different way. We'll get you out of here, but, we'll give you a new identity, a new life.
How? Margaret explained. Magic. Very old magic. It will turn you into a human, but you will lose your old memories. Edward thought. All of them? You will lose the pain, but you will also lose the good memories. It's your decision. Edward looked at me. Thomas, what do you think? I want you to be happy. What about you? How will you survive? Harry replied, He'll come with us. You'll need him in your new life. Really? Yes. Brothers, don't abandon each other.
This will hurt, said Margaret, both you and Thomas, because the thing that binds you together will be severed. I'm ready, said Edward. Me too, I said. When the ritual began, strange lights appeared in the room. Edward's appearance began to change, slowly, more normal, more human. Those horrific limbs shortened. His skull returned to its normal shape. A spark of life appeared in his eyes. But I was changing too. The dagger I had plunged into my heart vanished. The wound healed, and that weight, the weight of that responsibility, lifted from my shoulders. I could breathe again. Thomas, said Edward, now in a normal, human voice, will you forget me? Never, I said. You are my brother. I won't forget you either. I'll keep the good memories. When the ritual was complete, Edward had completely changed. He looked like a normal young man. Handsome, blue-eyed, bearing the traits of royal lineage, but now normal.
Your name is David now, said Harry. David Wales. You will be registered as my distant relative. David, Edward repeated the name. It's a beautiful name. Margaret handed him his new identity papers. This is your new life. Your past has been completely erased. Only your connection to Thomas will remain. Where are we going? I asked. To America, Harry said, a small town in California. You can live a quiet life there. David will find a normal job, and you'll continue to protect David. But secretly? No, Harry smiled. There's nothing left to hide. You will just be two friends living a normal life. David, looked at me. Thomas, will you come with me? Of course, I said. I promise. What promise? I'll never leave you alone.
3 months later, we were living in a small house in Monterey, California. David was working in a bookstore, and I was working for a security company. Normal lives, normal jobs, normal friendships. David had lost his old memories, but sometimes I saw a familiar sparkle in his eyes, especially when watching news about the royal family. Thomas, he said one evening while watching the news about Prince William on TV, I feel like I know this man. Maybe you're mistaking him for someone else, I said. Maybe, but there was uncertainty in his voice. Days passed. David was happy. For the first time he had real friends, a job he loved, and he could see the sun. Sometimes we walked along the beach and he would watch the waves with a childlike smile. Do you ever wonder? He asked one day. What?
My past. Why don't I remember anything? Sometimes, I said, it's better to forget the past. What matters is the present and the future. You're my oldest friend, aren't you? Yes, my oldest and best friend. He smiled. I'm very lucky.
6 months later, one night, I saw the Queen in my dream, but this time it was different. She was peaceful. "Thomas," she said, "you did very well. Your Majesty, how did you—" "My mission is complete. Now I can rest in peace. Edward, David, is he happy?" "Very happy. He has a normal life. He has friends, a job. And you? How are you?" "I'm happy too. Seeing his happiness makes me happy." "Good," he smiled. "What about Harry? How is he?" "He's fine too. He calls occasionally, asks how we're doing. He's a very good person." "Yes, he is. The best of the family." He paused. "Thomas, I have one last thing to tell you." "What is it?" "David's memory hasn't been completely erased. Deep, very deep down, there are some memories, good memories, memories of you. And these memories, they will always keep you connected to you. Is that good or bad? Good. Because everyone needs a guardian angel, and you are his guardian angel. What about the curse? Is it completely gone? Yes. The Windsor family is clean now. The children are safe. William's children, Charles, everyone is safe. Thank you. No, Thomas, I should be thanking you. You saved the royal family, and most importantly, you saved David.
And so, the Queen's final secret came to an end. Edward now lives as David, leading a normal life. I continue to protect him, but no longer as part of my duty, as a friend. Sometimes, in the silence of the night, I see him remembering his old self. Then I approach him and say, "Everything is fine." And he smiles and says, "I know, Thomas. You're here," he says. "The royal family is safe, the curse is broken, and 2 lost souls are now free. The guards at Windsor Castle still stand watch, but there's no longer a dark secret to hide, only beautiful memories. And sometimes, in the breeze, you can feel the Queen's gentle smile. Because love is stronger than death, and true love always finds its way." Nothing was the same after that night. But sometimes change is good, especially when you've saved souls that have been suffering for a long time. If you were in their shoes, would you keep such a secret, or would you reveal the truth to the world? Do you believe in the power of family bonds? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow this channel, because there are many more secret stories from the royal family waiting for you.